we're going to take a different approach, a little dogleg, if you will, towards the same destination. We're going to be talking a little bit about the movie Homestead, and both its production quality as well as the plot in general. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments down below as we continue to master our craft and develop our tactical virtue. So, when it comes to like overall, I don't want to, this isn't an attempt to ruin you if you haven't seen it, if you're trying to make up your mind or whatever. It is, at the end of the day, like it's a glorified advertisement that you paid money to go watch. The overall production is fine, right? The acting is fine, the directing is fine, special effects or whatever. Like it's all good. Some of the script is a little over the top. Like there's only so many times I should hear things like "get the go bag" in a movie. But they're playing towards a targeted. I wouldn't even say they're playing towards dudes like probably you and I in this, but towards folks who may want to fantasize about this stuff. And there's some over the top on some other things, but at the end of the day, it wasn't horrible. Like I said, it's just an advertisement to go pay for a streaming service. $100 a year, like that's incredibly expensive. But all that being aside, now we have all that stuff out of the way. For the most part, we may come back to some of that stuff. Where the movie fails, in my humble opinion, is in the exact same way that we often fail. Right? We over hype. We become overcharged on the end of things rather than how we get from here to there. Does that make sense? So, for example, the movie begins with a nuclear blast outside of one of LA's harbors, right? And that somehow turns the entire country into chaos. Like we already know for a hard fact that when terrorists attack the United States, that has a different effect. But what was even more precarious in this is that people are having freedom of maneuver to travel from LA to Colorado and to travel from the East Coast to Colorado. Like there's these large questions that are unanswered. They're not even attempted to become answered in the film. And I think that poses some problems. There's problems in storytelling, of course, and there's problems with the way that I think that we oftentimes approach what something like this could end up meaning, right? Of course, we know that atomic blast is not enough, and somehow gridlock didn't automatically happen as 160 or 16 million Americans, right? LA metro area, probably 16 million people, as they all try to scatter. There's absolutely no gridlock. People are getting out with relatively freedom and not having any issues. But we know that's not enough to completely shut down America. So they had to inject another event, which was a terrorist attack. I think they said from Russia or China, on the nation's power grid. Now, there's no such thing as the nation's power grid. But now we had these two things. We don't know what's going on. We don't know why. But for some reason, that completely shut down all of society in the United States of America. Complete chaos. Because we don't have power and because there's a nuclear blast. And the issue here for me is that we just want to dive into post-apocalyptic America, right? We don't care how we actually get there. We just want to do the movie, the film there. And I guess that's all well and good, except for guys like me, I think about the story, about the process of what it would actually take to get from here to there. And what's the likelihood? What's the probability? And man, let's work those things out. Let's work through those details. Because I think that there probably are some. But again, like this is just overhyped fantasy land. And it's great to see, is the irony here, right? I think at one point in time they called their little compound, was this an ark or something else? And it's the irony here, right? Because if here you have some sort of safe haven, outside of the gates, you have mass chaos, mass killings, probably a lot of sectarian violence, raiding going on, and it's like no big deal. It's just some little things I think about. I thought that they did a good job with some of the ethical dilemmas that they injected, particularly when a character killed a person who was trespassing and ended up just being hunting on the property. And what do you do in these situations, and then how do you process it afterwards? Of course, there were some really awkward, here, let me pray for you kind of scenes. But I feel that sometimes we don't give enough credit for those ethical problem solving, ethical dilemmas that it's easy to find ourselves in, because it happens on the daily. And we just sometimes don't even take 2 seconds to think about it. We just brush it over or whatever. But I think there's value. There's probably more value in deciding how we deal with those types of scenarios, right? Where maybe it's a decision point, an action required that may test your loyalty versus your integrity, right? Where these two things collide, we have ethical problem solving that needs to be talked about, and it needs to be processed and worked through. Because as we do that, we become better versions of ourselves, if that makes sense. But getting back to this movie, like, it's just, would I go watch it again? At the end of the day, would I go watch it again? I wouldn't go watch it again. I may watch it if it was streaming, on Hulu or Netflix or whatever. But I'm not going to pay $100 to watch something. Like, that's retarded. But that's just me. Do I think that there's value in how they presented this multi-million-dollar homestead that is completely unattainable for any of us? No, probably not. It'd be cool to have a little compound, but again, that's fantasy land. Like, that's not what you have. That's not what I have. That's not what our resources have. I also think they did a good job of looking at the friction points between gunfighters and sustainers, right? And how do these two work together in conjunction? Because somebody can't just be one. You kind of have to be all of it. But you need both. So I thought they did a good job with that too. I don't know, team. I don't feel worse off for seeing the movie. I don't feel better off either. I didn't really learn anything. It was just a little escape from reality, and it was a decent enough date night, but I think we could have spent our money better elsewhere. I was hopeful for this movie, from the studio that was producing and delivering this movie, from some of the actors that are in this movie, and from some of the teasers that you got about what it was going to be about. I was really hopeful that we were going to see something that was more on the verge of being on the cusp of reality, not out on the fringes, right? Not out on the fringe fantasy land, but something that was actually probable. Something I was talking to one of my daughters about. So the best horror movies that exist are the ones that are not the slasher film, and things that are outside of reality, but the ones that toy with, could this actually happen? Because those are the ones that will keep people frightened from actually walking through the woods at night. Those are the ones that keep people up at night and turn on the lights and are scared of the dark. All the little child's play and doll murderer movies or whatever, those may startle you and scare you, but they don't really scare you as far as what can actually happen. And so the best ones, and going back to what would have been the best SHTF or preparedness movie would have been one that said, here's a scenario that could actually happen. Could America be attacked? Yes. Could power grids be taken down? Yes. But would those two things blindly result in SHTF, like Mad Max scenario? I don't think so. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, team, about what it would take to get from here to there, as well as the movie if you've seen it, or if you plan on seeing it, and all those things. Team, I appreciate you guys. Till then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked. Team, if you want to master your craft and develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with future content. Consider becoming a channel member. It's going to give you exclusive access to content not available to anybody else. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.
I know you're out there! Come to my voice!